All right, everyone, welcome to today's social distancing cinema. Thank you so much to David for coordinating this event. We're joined today by the director and the director of photography, is that correct? For the movie TheM. I'm going to hand it over to David now to run our discussion.
Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us, especially to our director and our director of photography. Hannah, you blanked out, but I'll keep talking. I'm David Lawton. My name on the website at Oddball Cinema is David L. One second, please. I don't talk much, and I just need to get my voice kick-started here. When the pandemic arrived in March of 2020 officially, Oddball Cinema, which used to have live events in local libraries, moved all of its shows online. And since I'm retired and our other organizers, we have two other main organizers, work for a living, I had more time. So I've selected almost all of the movies for what we call social distancing cinema. To do that, I watch as many as 50 movies a month from start to finish. And there's usually 20 or more that I start and I decide this is crap and I throw it away. I'm getting better at that. I'm upping the ratio of movies that I bail out on early so I don't waste, 75 to 100 hours a month watching movies. So for our online discussion, I like to choose the best movie of the month that I think I can actually get an independent filmmaker to join us for. I've never been able to get people like De Niro and Spielberg to join us, but I got Ignacio and Tim, so I'm very happy about that. You made a really good movie. Obviously, I like it a lot if I chose it for this session. Let me tell you a little bit about my reaction to it. I found it marvelously odd and creepy and bothersome, but in an entertaining way. It didn't explain too much or too little, kept me unsure for a lot of the running time about exactly what was going on, but always kept me wanting to know what would happen next. That's a real oddball film for genuine oddballs. As you know, Ignacio, you're both writer and director, so I'm going to fire my first question at you. What inspired you to come up with this story?
Well, maybe this is because I sound very romantic. I did like an interview a while ago and they asked me exactly the same. But the thing is, we took part in a festival, which was about making a short movie, a science fiction short movie in 48 hours. So basically, this festival, they were giving you like a line of dialogue, a prop you had to use, and I think a title, right? And then I came out with, based on those three things they gave me, I came out with this short movie, which is supposed to be what TheM is about, but obviously TheM is a feature movie. So when we did the short, I thought that we could get a feature written, and I just started to write it. The thing is, I wrote that movie just after writing another feature movie, which also I did with Tim, and we did that feature because TheM is the second feature, right? So it's our second feature together, actually. So basically, the first one we did it, and just after, I just talked to Tim and I told him, why would you like to do another one? And Tim was kind enough to say yes. So then we just got to it. But it's not like I had this idea for a long time and I thought, oh, I have to make this movie. It's more about I had this possibility, right? And I just tried to make the script in the most interesting way I could.
Okay, so you participated in a festival and they gave you a line of dialogue that had to be in the film?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah,
you tell me
but
what
yeah,
that?
yeah. The thing is, I don't
You
even remember the line of dialogue. It was
okay?
something like, no, I don't really remember. But it's a pretty. I mean, it's a pretty well-known festival. I think it's probably in America. You guys also have it. It's like 48-hour science fiction film festival. So basically, the idea is to make a short movie in 48 hours. And as I said, you register and you get like a title. It's random. It's totally random, but you get like a title, a prop. So basically, a prop you need to use in the movie, in the short movie, and a line of dialogue. And from there, I remember the title. The title was the 24th floor. But obviously, TheM is a different title, right? But yeah, the title was the 24th floor. And actually, the short. Well, I think the short is YouTube. I mean, the short is pretty. I mean, I mean, you guys can watch it and say whatever you think, but yeah, I mean, technically the short is slightly, it has some problems, but it's okay. It was fun.
Since it was a festival dedicated to science fiction, I think
Yes.
I can pull one line of dialogue out and say, this must be the one where Daniel is standing out in the field and he says, "You can see me?" That would be a natural line for that kind of starting point. And what was the prop that they wanted you to use?
I think the prop was a spoon. Yeah, I think it was a spoon. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was a spoon in the short movie. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so the spoon did not make it to the feature film.
No, the spoon.
So,
Unfortunately, the spoon didn't make
so
it.
as they say in the Matrix, there is no spoon. Okay.
Yeah, we fought. We tried hard to put the spoon inside the movie, but we didn't manage to do it successfully. I'm afraid.
Well, in terms of current science fiction, excuse me again, I feel that this movie is something of a reaction to the CGI heavy effects driven action movies that major studios produce. I'm wondering, and this would be a question for Tim as well, did you attend what you produced to be something of a rebellion against that trend?
Okay, Tim, your turn.
No, you can go first.
No, not really. I mean, the thing is, I mean, we did the movie in the best way. I mean, having in mind the resources we had, we did it in the best way we could. If you start playing with all these fancy elements, obviously the movie, in the best scenario, the movie will take longer to get made, and also probably will be much more expensive. And it's just, I mean, if there is not a way to do things right, it's better just to find another way to do it, right?
So budget was your first consideration.
Yeah, but
you can't have
yeah.
car crashes and explosions.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not like when you start writing, you think, okay, I don't have the budget, so I cannot do this, I cannot do this, I cannot do this. Before you start writing, you already know the budget. So basically, you already write the things as you want them to be, having in mind the budget you have, right? It's not like you started to cut things out of the movie. No, it's not like that. It's you're already planning things you can do. So it's not like, oh, I cannot do this, I cannot do this. No, this is how I'm gonna do it. So it's a different approach, I suppose.
I think it also comes from the way you write scripts too. You're very much sort of, I could say Aaron Sorkin type style writing, in that it's kind of two people talking in a room and they're playing off each other a lot. So to throw in a bunch of car chases or large sci-fi elements didn't seem to fit the style, really.
No, I guess not.
It would have been amusing and just as mysterious as any other part of the film if a car chase broke out just in the middle. Well, getting to the particulars of your screenplay, the assistant expresses a dismal opinion of the human race. Now, given the world's current state of affairs, I can understand how any entity might feel the same way. I'm wondering if her assessment reflects your own views in any way.
No, not really. I mean, obviously, I mean, when you write it, you have different characters, right? I mean, you can put yourself in the shoes of every single character, or you should do it. But you kind of play into with them somehow. It's not like, I mean, I guess you could say you are all of them and none at the same time, right? I mean, there are things you like of some and things you like on others. But at the end of the day, you are playing a game when you're writing. So basically, you have different roles, and every role needs to play a different function in the movie, and you play to be whichever is talking in that moment. But at the end, I mean, it's fun to play the characters as a writer. Obviously, I'm not an actor, and I've never been. But as a writer, you play in the characters as well when you're writing them. But obviously, you have, I guess, you could say, like, the bigger picture in mind, and it's where you want to go. It's not like you forget about the rest, or you forget about the whole movie just because you're playing a particular character. But I have to tell you, the assistant is my favorite character of the movie.
Oh, really?
Definitely. Maybe I shouldn't say this, and I
Ooh.
couldn't say maybe this if I had the cars in front of us. But but yeah, I see. She's my favorite character of the movie, and I could say she's kind of the main character. I mean, one of the things I like about the movie is like, I mean, the point of view of the movie changes to the movie, because obviously at the beginning you could see maybe Daniel is the main character, right? I mean, if you see the time he's on the screen, he's the one who is longer on the screen. So you could say, okay, he's the main character. And at the beginning, you can see the story through his eyes. And many times in the movie, you are. But I mean, the point of view, I mean, what I think one of the things we managed to do right, and I wanted to get, is that we can kind of manage to see the movie through the point of view of every single main character. I mean, when I say main character, I basically see Daniel, Sleepwalker, and assistant. Maybe Sleepwalker less, but there is also at the end and to the halfway of the movie, you can see the movie also through the Sleepwalker point of view. And also, and I would say, I mean, in the second half, you start watching the movie more, especially at the end, through the assistant point of view. So basically, the end, actually, the proper ending. I mean, obviously, you guys have seen the movie, right? So the voiceover at the beginning is basically the same at the end, but at the end is, and actually, we had more than one take. My idea at the beginning was to use a different take, but we used exactly the same take. So basically, the same take at the beginning of the movie. At the end, is exactly the same take of the voiceover of, well, Rebecca is the name of the actress, so Rebecca, and well, maybe it's because I'm the director and I want to think that way. But for me, when I listen the voiceover at the end, it's different than at the beginning. And,
Right.
and you
Now,
kind
you understand it differently. Yes.
yeah, and it makes you feel different. At the beginning, it's kind of, I could say it's kind of, it has more like a darker tone. And at the end, I could say it's more a kind of a sad tone.
This is all we can do. Yes.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of, this is what it is, right? I mean, you can like it, you can dislike it, but that doesn't change what it is. I mean, this is a bit of.
I particularly like that character too. And I think the soul or zen of the movie is contained in one sentence that she utters when she introduces herself to Daniel when they're sitting around tea. She calls herself the consequence of a need. Yeah. From the sparse clues we get over the course of the movie, I can only imagine what the causes must have been that would lead to her as the result. My overall impression is that you imagined a vast story, far larger than is presented in the movie, but the movie only presents the aftermath, the final chapter. Am I more or less on track?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of, well, I could say that's part of any great movie. I mean, there can be many kinds of great movies, okay? I'm not saying only the movies which do what I'm gonna say now are great movies. There are many kinds of great movies. But I could say a great movie is not like a story from the beginning to the end. it tells a part of the story, right? And it makes people to believe that things has happened before and things will keep happening after. I mean, if I'm telling you the story from the beginning to the end, I'm not letting you do anything. This is boring. It's just I'm giving you everything, and it's just, I mean, it doesn't keep your attention, right? At least that's what happens to me when I'm watching movies. So the idea is always try to, I mean, obviously you need to make an effort to make the story as easy to understand, to be understood as possible, right? But at the end, you need to let people know that this is just a part of it. I mean, because I mean, I don't want to get deep or anything here, but it's like life, right? I mean, for example, you meet someone and you can share some time with them or whatever, but what makes you feel interested about that person is their lives, is what they have been doing before, what they have been doing, or will be doing after. But with movies, I suppose it's kind of the same.
With your movie, I think what was happening before is radically different from what's happening in the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
the assistant talks about trying to get along with humans and being accepted, not being accepted. And I imagine there was an awful lot of strife, perhaps violence, involved. And now we have reached an equilibrium state, and she is not going to let that equilibrium state be messed with. So you said, things happen before and things happen after. No, she's going to stop things from happening after. We're just going to keep everything the way it is. And I find that unusual in a story. Now, here's a question for both Ignacio and Tim. Your visual choices were unusual. You have characters who don't look at each other while they're speaking. You have characters frequently filmed from the back who in that scene will never turn around and face the camera. Characters spend a certain amount of time simply staring at things. Characters filmed out of focus or who come into focus during the course of a scene. So I wonder if each of you could talk a little about what you had in mind with these choices and how they relate to storytelling and character development.
Okay, Tim, now your turn.
I just do what he tells me. Well, it is an interesting point.
Did Ignacio yell at you? No focus in this scene.
No, he didn't. Maybe once, but not generally, no. I think it's actually a trait of Ignacio's filmmaking. It's kind of how he sees the characters in the world and how they talk to each other and interact with each other. He does like to sort of isolate characters within their cells and within the world, and uses the framing to really speak to something. Like you'll probably notice that within scenes he'll jump the line and he'll come over and flip them on to the other side, and like you say, they're kind of almost talking to nobody, and it's very sort of referential to the characters within the world rather than just the characters talking to themselves. So that spatial relationship is something that is in this film and is in many of his other films as well. So that's something that really comes from Ignacio that I tried to emphasize and bring in to hopefully another level.
So Ignacio, why did you tell him to do that?
Well, it's not that I mean, it's not that I do like very deep study of how I wanna do things visually. It just comes naturally to me. I like playing with frames. I like jumping the line. I love jumping the line when you can. There's just technical considerations that I like them. I mean, when it's properly done, I think it's very interesting. I mean, when it's shattered, because it's this kind of things that you see in it, and even, I mean, well, myself, when I see it, I normally notice, but sometimes it's subtle, and you cannot see it, but something has happened, and if you apply those little things or big things in the right moment in the scene, when something happens in the scene, or maybe because something happens, options to play around.
Ignacio, we're losing
So
we're
obviously,
losing your audio signal. So could
okay,
you-
well, okay, let me see. Yeah, the thing is, I'm having some issues with internet at home.
Sometimes if you turn off
Hello?
video, the audio will come through clearer.
Yeah, okay, I can do that. I mean, okay, yeah. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
I prefer this view,
Beautiful.
actually.
So, thank you, Tim. You're very kind at this one. Okay, so yeah, I mean, as I guess as Tim said, it's something that kind of comes in a natural way to be when I'm just doing the visual plan of the movie. I like to play with all the little things. I like playing with frames, with lines and angles and lenses and all that. Normally, I always, it's not that I do it randomly. I know, I mean, I apply that to the narrative. Obviously, the narrative is always the most important thing, but through all these little things, you can tell the story as well. So yeah, I like to do that.
It's very carefully planned out, actually. It's not haphazard. We'll go to a location and you'll have very, very clear ideas of where you want the characters to be and the actors to stand in relation to the space. It's very interesting, actually.
Your camera
Thank you,
angles
Tim.
change so often that I was hardly aware of an action line. I mean, it's just this. It's like looking at a movie in 4 dimensions, and it keeps the viewer off balance a little bit, which is appropriate to the story, because
Yeah.
you don't know for a lot of the time exactly what's going on. So I think it works.
Thank you.
Moving on to the cast, you had a great cast. I admire
you.
all the actors who brought this strange concept to life strictly through their performances, since you didn't have any effects or, anything else, hardly any props. And their performances included a lot of times standing still and showing no emotion, with the viewer left to imagine what's going on in their minds. It made me think of a version of the Matrix, but with benevolent despot overlords who have no need for violence or spectacular effects. Did you have these specific actors in mind when you wrote the parts?
No, not really. I mean, the thing is, I wrote the script much before we get the chance to make it. So basically, the script was written, and probably we start shooting the movie like maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 years after the script was written. As I said before, we did another feature before this one. So some of the actors which happened to be in the first feature are also in this one. So I thought I had in mind already. I mean, I don't remember if I said to Tim. I don't think I did. But while we were shooting the first movie, I had already in mind to make this second one as soon as possible. So in my mind, I was already thinking, okay, maybe this guy or this actor or this actress can work in them, playing this character or the other. But no, I didn't write the movie for any specific cast.
Well, let me point out a couple of the characters, or actors, I should say. Excuse me. Sindri Swan. I hope I pronounce his name correctly. He does so much with his facial expressions, even when they're calm. I don't think I've ever seen an actor adopt such an interesting blank expression before. His blank expression is profoundly blank. And when he has some powerful emotion to express, it comes straight through without any words. I really was amazed by that. The other one, our favorite character, Rebecca Calienda, she, from the very beginning, conveyed an impression of someone who had infinite power or resources at her disposal, always cool and in control. And I just knew early on, sooner or later, she would affect a major shift in the course of the story. If she were here, I'd ask her how she prepared for the role. So I get the impression that developing this character was a unique challenge. I'll let you comment on that before I move on to my next point.
Sorry?
I said I would let you comment on that before I move on to the next point.
Yeah, I mean, I have to tell you, I mean, I think Rebecca did a great job, and I think Sindri did a great job as well. Some people, I think, didn't understand, or didn't understand Sindri's. I mean, many people have come to me telling me that the only actor they don't like is Sindri in the movie, and I strongly disagree, because I think he's great in the movie. What I think is true that sometimes I was asking Sindri to do things that maybe they didn't come in a natural way. If you have in mind the kind of movie you have, because sometimes I was trying to make him play a little bit more like absurd, like what's going on, but in a way like really out of place. No, what's going on like in a deep drama way, more like what's going on, like I'm lost, I have no idea what I'm doing here, because I thought that point could be interesting for the movie. I don't like when the movies get very dramatic, and the movie is dramatic by itself, so it doesn't need any extra drama, right? So if you play with this kind of a little bit angles, I think it can be very interesting. And with Sindri, many times we were just letting the camera roll, and I was basically not saying anything to him, just waiting for him to get confused even. So that was good, because that actually worked for the movie, and many of those reactions are in the movie. So I think it's great. And also at the beginning when we were doing the casting, well, Sindri is from Iceland, so he has an accent. I mean, his English is great, but he has an accent. And also that was like a matter of discussion, right? Because we were thinking we really want a guy with an accent in the movie. And I thought it was actually great, because I mean, if you see the movie, his character is like he's like an outsider, right? He doesn't belong to any of the worlds, because I mean, he is like misplaced in every single world. So a guy with an accent somehow no, is someone that, I mean, doesn't belong specifically to the place where he is, right? Because well, it doesn't belong in the way he wasn't born there, right? So I thought it could be very useful for the movie, and I think we did a great choice with Sindri. And well, Rebecca is great. I mean, Rebecca, we see that the monologue, I'm sure Tim will remember this. When we see that the monologue when she's having tea with Sindri, I remember she came on set and she started doing the monologue. We didn't cut. I mean, we didn't cut in the whole monologue. So we did like 6 shots, and we let her run the whole monologue from beginning to the end. And I remember no one talk at all. I mean, but even between takes, I mean, it was just maybe some corrections about moving the light here or whatever. But it was like everyone was like looking at her like, wow, this is good. And yeah, that's how
that
it
is
works. I mean,
it's a great scene. And I think I understand, although I disagree, I understand why people would say that they weren't enthusiastic about Sindri's character, because he does look out of place, but that's his role. At the beginning of the movie, he is dislodged from the place where he belongs. And that's the story of the movie. He has to go back. So I get it. And I think his performance was excellent.
Yeah, me too. I think he's great. I think he's really good.
Now, with regard to them in general, when you wrote the script, did you imagine a specific origin for them, such as arrival from another planet or dimension? Or do you simply want them to remain an enigma? You don't have to tell us.
No. I'm very happy saying I think in the monologue, or maybe the monologue is more confusing than I thought, but I think in the monologue is kind of explained. I mean, they were supposed to be humans, but somehow they evolve and they got these special skills. And then the rest of the humans, which didn't manage to get these skills, got scared of them. I mean, somehow, maybe the comparison is not the best, but it's like they are like mutants, like X-Men, right? So basically, it's like some humans got some skills, others not, and then they get scared because they are able to do things that the rest cannot do, and then they have this kind of disagreement what we do with you guys. So yeah, they are humans. They are not aliens or anything like that. They are just humans with they happen to got some interesting skills through the way.
Okay, that's one origin story that occurred to me. I mean, your movie opens up a lot of possibilities. So after watching it for the second time, I just thought, well, it could have been this, could have been that. I've watched a lot of movies recently about parallel dimensions, so I thought maybe they're their counterparts from parallel dimensions. There's one movie I watched recently, which I'm going to put on the schedule soon, called Paradox Lost, in which one of the characters says, most homeless people are actually time travelers waiting to start their missions. So I watch so many fantasy films because they're a real staple for Oddball Cinema, that every time I watch a movie, hundreds of possibilities pop into my head as to what could be behind all this. The ending had me a bit baffled. According to them, according to the assistant, everything was going back the way it was before. But it doesn't all go back the way it was before. Daniel does not wind up with Martha, which is who you see him with at the beginning. Did the situation revert to a before status that preceded the opening frame, or am I misunderstanding this?
No, before as the very beginning of the movie. I mean, the very beginning of the movie, Daniel is not with Martha. That won't happen before. So basically, Daniel was with Martha, but he woke up and then he became one of them, one of the keepers, right? So the movie starts when Daniel is already a keeper. So basically, that's the first frame of the movie. So that's what the system means when she says things will go back as they were before. It's basically the first frame of the movie. It's the first scene again.
Okay. Excuse me. My voice just, it won't stay put. See, I live alone. I don't talk during the day. So I try and get my voice kickstarted and it just won't go. But I can continue anyway. A lot of the male characters appear with shirts completely buttoned up, but no neckties, even when they're wearing suits. When something about their status changes, then they appear with collars unbuttoned or with neckties. Are these wardrobe choices some kind of signal?
Yeah, well, we just wanted to make the keepers more recognizable somehow. So we just thought about how we can do that. And we thought the easiest way was that. That's pretty much the reason behind it.
Okay, Ignacio, stop. We just lost your audio. With me, it's my voice. With you is your connection. Would you repeat the last sentence that you just spoke?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, we were just trying to find a way to make the keeper more recognizable. So give them some kind of, I don't know, whatever to make them look.
A uniform.
Yeah, something like that. So basically, we came up with this idea about get the last button of the search fastened, and that would, yeah.
Okay.
It became a bit of a
basically
continuity problem at some points in shooting.
I think there were a couple of scenes where I thought, shouldn't his shirt be buttoned?
Yeah, but there was in the first scene there was a problem with that. But other than that, I don't think, or as far as I remember, I don't remember we had that problem again. But in the first scene, yes. Yeah.
Well, we're getting into quibbles now, but I have a couple of quibbles for you. And then I'm going to
Okay.
invite other people to ask questions because I pretty much gotten all the answers I'd hoped for.
Yeah.
The staircase in the house that Daniel is the agent for, or was
Mhm.
originally his. The staircase has no handrail. That looks dangerous to me, which of course might be the reason that a couple planning to have children would want to move. Are staircases like this common in the UK?
TheM.
No, they're not common. The floor plan of this location works better in a logistical point of view from shooting. And obviously banisters on the staircase can restrict views when you're trying to shoot people coming up and down stairways. So it was more of a practical consideration. like when you shoot in cars, you remove the headrests so you can see into the back seats. Just it was a practical consideration, really.
Okay, I wanted to be sure. Finally, I'm sure, Ignacio, you're aware of other movies with the title TheM or variations on TheM. Did you consider different titles for this production? And how did you wind up calling it TheM? Oh no, he left.
I'm gonna need you to repeat that question because I kind of lost you guys.
Okay, I'll try again. Ignacio, I'm sure you're aware of other movies titled TheM or little variations on TheM.
Yes.
Did you consider different titles for this production? And how did you wind up calling it TheM? Are we losing our link again?
I can't really answer this. I've always known the project is TheM, even from the script stage. So from my point of view, it's always been titled that.
Okay, I think I'm back.
Okay, shall I ask one more
Okay.
time?
Go for it.
Okay, I'm sure you're aware of other movies with titles TheM or something similar to them. I wonder if you consider different titles for this production, and how did you wind up using TheM as the title?
My gosh.
This question is cursed.
It will always remain an enigma.
Okay.
Are you back with us, Ignacio?
It's in the chat now too.
While we wait for Ignacio to reconnect, I wonder if Betty or Gail has any questions for Tim.
And it's totally fine if you don't.
I do, actually.
Great, jump ahead.
Okay, thank you. I noticed, or my eyesight is not that great. I think there were times when it looked like the color was faded out of a scene, particularly like a river scene, and it looked almost as though it was slowly going to black and white. Was that on purpose or was that just my eyesight?
No, it was on purpose. From the very concept of the film, we decided to try and support the film with photographically and put things in the photography of the film. In this case, we decided that with the characters, there's really 3 layers to the film, and we tried to do something different photographically with those layers. So you're not wrong. Some of the scenes are a very desaturated, almost black and white look to them. Some of them have a very heavy green hue to them to kind of give a sickliness to it. And then you've got quite a colorful kind of lens flare-y, a bit more lovely kind of looking picture for another layer of the film. So yeah, that was designed in there. So well done for spotting it.
Well,
Because it's not very obvious. It's subtle.
But it also, I didn't notice it associated with a particular character or a particular type of entity, like a keeper or a human. But I did notice that, and again, it appeared that there were some, and I don't know the terminology for it, but particularly the scene where the sleepwalker and Daniel are, he has awoken, he is finally awoken, and they're standing under that bridge and they're talking, and they hear Daniel and
Martha.
Yes, behind them talking and clearly in love. And that picture is very saturated with color, and it appears to be not in focus, a little, especially around their feet. And I wondered if that was supposed to delineate the keepers versus the humans. I wasn't sure if that was a signal of some kind about who was being filmed.
It absolutely is, yeah. So like I say, there's 3 layers to the film. There's a keeper layer, which is a very green hue saturation over the picture. There's a real world a look to the film, which is that very gray, desaturated, almost nothing is in color. And then there's the dreamy world, which we'd called it, which is what you just described, which is very vibrant, colorful. There's soft focus, sort of a hazy look to it. And as you're looking through the film, it's not hitting you over the head with it. It's a little more subtle. Like in that particular scene where you jump between the 2 extremes of it, you do pick up on it a little more, yeah. So I'm very happy that you have noticed that.
Yeah, and I just have
exactly
one more.
Right.
I have one more question that I think you might be able to answer. I don't know if it's Ignacio. Oh, and I just forgot what it was.
You just had your memory erased by them.
Oh, yes, I know. No, I could not tell where this was filmed until the very end, where it said something about the UK in the credits. And somebody was talking about one of the actors having an accent. I thought they all had different accents. So for me, it was difficult to place, where are these people from? In fact, there's one scene where there's an LP, a record album cover of something from South Africa, and I thought, oh, maybe that's where they're filming. So that's why I asked at the very beginning, where in the UK was this? Were these river scenes across the river? Were they in the UK?
Yeah, it was all filmed in and around London.
Oh, okay.
I think the idea was that this isn't supposed to be any specific geographical location. It's just representative of a city or the world over. So I'm glad that you didn't pick up on that specifically, that we achieved in that goal. But yeah, it was shot in and around London, in trying to showcase perhaps areas you don't normally see that aren't quite so recognizable.
Thanks very much.
Maybe Ignacio likes to say something different, but I think that's the case.
No. I was enjoying listening to you, Tim. You did very well.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Ignacio, it looks like your link is stable again. So let me go back
hopefully
to my question that always breaks the link. I'm sure you're aware of other movies with the title TheM or a slight variation on them. Did you consider different titles for this production? And how did you wind up deciding on them after all?
I mean, title with movies, at least for me, sometimes they come very quick, and sometimes they become a big problem. So with this one, it was an easy. Nothing really was coming to my mind as a title, and suddenly TheM came. and I thought it was good because it was it was ambiguous enough. And one of the things I like about the movie, or I like when I write, is this ambiguity about things meaning more than one thing, and things meaning whatever people want them to mean somehow, right? I mean, I give you enough for you to create your own idea of whatever is happening or whatever is going on, the things. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't aware at all. I mean, the thing is, the series of, for example, the series of Amazon, which is them. This I didn't see it, but this is a kind of horror series or something, right? It's called them. That came after our movie. So so basically, I mean, I don't know if we I mean, we were just about to finish the movie, and suddenly someone tested me and told me, "Have you seen this?" And obviously it wasn't it wasn't great. It was actually quite annoying. But what can you do,
Well, thank you, Ignacio and Tim. That really is all I have to ask. I'll open it up. I'm sure someone else must have another question. Or maybe not.
Well, I'm going to enjoy watching it again after this
Yay.
discussion. I think I'll, yeah. I don't think I'll ever understand what's going on, but in a way, that to me is not a bad thing.
Yeah,
That's what them want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say something. I think I watched the wrong movie. There were so many movies called TheM that I think I watched the wrong thing.
Oh, did you watch one with giant ants?
Oh, God.
No.
Okay,
That's the original TheM.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Where was this film on? What was this film on? What program?
Well, there was a link on the event page. So if you go to the Oddball Cinema page for this event, you'll see a couple of links. You can watch it just by clicking on either one of them. That's how all of our social distancing cinema events work. You watch the movie whenever you want. It's still available.
I will watch it, and now I still have the link, and I will watch it again. I will watch it, but there were so many movies of them on. I was looking on Prime and Netflix. I'm looking at all these things. I did see one that was in 1931.
Yeah.
Well, Gail, I put the link in the chat box. And if you click on that link that takes you to the meetup.com site, you'll see the watch it free with ads on Plex and watch it free with ads on Tubi, okay?
I still have the link from this, so I'll go back on that one.
And I assure you, nothing we've said today will spoil the movie for you. You can watch it 4 or 5 times. You still won't understand it.
It's okay. I see the link now.
Hence the oddball.
What?
Even after all that, still not the strangest movie we've shown.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it. I still have the link, and I'm going to do it.
Okay, great.
I'm going to watch it again. Thank
Enjoy.
you so much.
And of course, if you want to comment on it later, leave a comment on the event page.
Okay, I will. Thank you very much. Yeah, now I understand.
Okay.
Now I understand. I didn't understand that before.
See, Ignacio, your movie is warping people's minds.
Yay.
I did enjoy your question. Now when I watch the movie, I will look and be more aware of what was going on.
I can't
see, now you'll
imagine
know
what
exactly
movie you
what's
watched.
happening.
Maybe you can explain us later what the movie's
Thank you
about.
very much for that information.
David,
So-
would you like to take a moment to tell everyone what the next film is going to be?
Oh, yes, of course. In conjunction with the library's celebration, I said salivation and somehow that doesn't work. Celebration of a citywide event in Alexandria called All Alexandria Reads. This is an event in which residents are encouraged to read a couple of books. And this year the theme is resilience. Neither of those books has been made into a movie. And even if it were, it probably wouldn't be odd enough for Oddball Cinema. So I've chosen a movie that's all about resilience in the face of adversity. It's called Coalesce. And in it, a film director who has appeared in one of our sessions before, when the pandemic broke out and all sorts of performance opportunities just disappeared, he gathered more than 100 performers at this big estate and had a big festival and filmed it. And everyone, the director and a lot of the performers, tell what it's like trying to get work during the pandemic, trying to keep their spirits up. And I just thought it was the most appropriate and definitely oddball feature I could pick for All Alexandria Reads. So that's what we're having next month.
So that'll be on Thursday, April 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is a little late for our friends across the pond. But thank you so
Yeah.
much, Ignacio
Thank
and
you.
Tim, for making the time difference work with us. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for coming.
worries.
It's been very enlightening and a little bit confusing, but that's all part of the fun.
Thank you for
Yeah.
hosting us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
Thank
you all
you.
so much for joining us. And thank you to Ignacio and Tim again. And thank you, David, for coordinating these social distancing cinemas.
And thank you, Hannah, for being our moderator.
All right.
Couldn't do it without you.
I'm sure you could. All right, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Thank
Right.
you so
Bye.
much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.